Hello and welcome. Tonight, death toll from Saturday's tanker explosion rises to 86 as federal government plans high-level committee to look into recurring cases of tanker explosions. Family of 24-year-old Youth Corps member Salome Adu, who was murdered by Timileyin Ajayi, demand for justice. Africa Missions Global holds its annual Thanksgiving service as a visionary. Pastor Bolu Adeboye attributes the success of the humanitarian body to divine intervention. And Israel says that 3 hostages who had been held by Hamas for 15 months are back in its territory. We begin from Niger State, where the death toll from Saturday's tank explosion at Diko Junction in Gurara local government area of Niger State has now risen to 86. And that's according to the State Emergency Management Agency in SEMA. Meanwhile, the federal government has announced plans to set up a high-powered committee to look into the recurring issue of tank explosions in order to avert future accidents. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, made this known at a visit to the palace of the Emir of Suleja in Niger State.
It's a case of sorrow, tears and blood as another tanker explosion claimed many lives at a border town between Abuja and Niger State. The tragic incident which occurred at Diko Junction in Gurara local government area of Niger State is the reason for this visit by the Minister of Information and other government officials. The first port of call is the palace of the Emir of Suleja, where the minister, alongside the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, announced plans by the federal government to avert a reoccurrence.
The president is really saddened by what has happened, and he is worried to the extent that he has said that a high-powered committee is set up to look at these incidences.
He has conveyed the message of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of what we are supposed to do and the role my minister is supposed to play in ensuring that we give a human face to the activities that took place, and also ensuring that all the possible support will give the family.
From the Emir's palace, the federal government's delegation heads to Rayuwa General Hospital, Suleja, to see the injured victims. The victims are assured of immediate evacuation.
We have just gone around the wards and we've seen those that are very critically injured. The Honorable Minister of Health, NEMA, and all agencies of government that are involved will ensure that all these victims are immediately evacuated and taken to intensive care unit.
Finally, the minister arrives at Diko Junction where the incident occurred as an eyewitness who declined appearing on camera says the cause of the incident is a broken down tanker where people were scooping fuel. After assessing the situation, the minister highlights the dangers of tankers transporting petrol.
I want to use this video to tell our people there is no need for you to go towards any tanker that has fallen with the intention of scooping fuel. Of course, all the recommendations will be put together and be forwarded to Mr. President so that the final stop will be put into this.
As the people of Niger State mourn over the incident, the federal government is promising to step up enlightenment campaigns to avert such ugly incidents in the country.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu says that he is saddened by the latest fuel tanker explosion, which has claimed over 80 lives. The president also expressed his condolences to the families affected, as well as the government and people of Niger State. The special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, in a statement, says that Nigeria's #1 citizen calls for the attention on the tragic and preventable nature of the incident, as many victims were those scooping premium motor spirit from the overturned tanker. According to the statement, the president has now directed the provision of comprehensive medical care to the injured and instructed security and road safety authorities to implement measures to avert similar incidents. The president has also mandated the National Orientation Agency to initiate a nationwide educational campaign that will raise public awareness about the severe risks and environmental dangers of scooping fuel from fallen tankers. Staying with the accident, but this time in River State, where communities affected by the recent explosion of an NNPCL's wellhead in Bukuma are now seeking urgent government intervention. And this formed part of calls made by the Buguma Council of Chiefs as they seek a speedy resolution to the situation, the cleanup, and some form of compensation for the impacted communities. Our correspondent Charles Sapurum reports.
The boat ride from Buguma in Asari Toro local government area of River State to Bukuma in Begema local government, where the NNPCL wellhead exploded, is a short one. 8 days later, and the flames have continued to burn non-stop, even as the devastation to the environment is clearly visible. Coasting down the New Calabar River, burning canoes, crude, polluted waters and mangroves greet the eye, even as some natives cry out for help, lamenting that the spill has all but destroyed their sources of livelihood, with one fisherman showing his poor catch.
Nothing will see for this river again because of the oil spillage. The oil don't spoil everything. Damn, no fish since morning. See the oil everywhere. The women were there and the people where they go Preco. They never see big Preco again because the oil don't kill all the Preco where they on top of the mangrove. Everything don't spoil.
Back in Buguma community, the chiefs are briefing the press. Their spokesman details the extent of the damage on communities around the river.
The issue is at the NNPC wellhead run by NNPC OML 18 Limited. It's at the back of Bukuma, separating Buguma with the New Calabar River. Some of you, you went around and you saw it. So you can see that while it is spilled from the back of one community, which is also impacted, by the way, Bukuma is also very impacted now.
Speaking further, he details 3 possible causes of the spill and fire.
Some of those oil facilities and pipes are weak now. So the tendency is anything can happen. So it could be from there. It could also be from illegal bunkering, criminal illegal bunkering, which as a community, the regent has said, we detest it, we reject it. The military, while trying to disperse these criminal activities, come with helicopter gunships and they will shoot. When they are shooting, it could hit the illegal refineries, but it's machining. Anything can happen. It can mistakenly even touch the wellhead.
While the Bukuma community welcomes this visit by NOSDRA and other relevant authorities, they are also expectant that remediation will commence sooner than later. Charles Sapurum, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, NOSDRA, has embarked on a joint investigation to assess that gas leak incident just had at the Bukuma Well 8 in River State, operated by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. According to NOSDRA, the assessment aims to evaluate the ramifications of the recent hydrocarbon spill and formulate an effective response strategy to mitigate the environmental impact. Our correspondent Deborah Agbalama reports.
Leading a team of stakeholders, including the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, River State Ministry of Environment, and community representatives, the Director General of NOSDRA, Chukwuemeka Moke, highlights significant environmental concerns during their inspection of the Kalabari River around the Bukuma communities in Asari Toro local government area. The NOSDRA boss notes the impact of the gas leaks and explosion on the aquatic life, vegetation and wildlife in the area, and recognizes the need for immediate remediation efforts and collaboration among stakeholders to mitigate the environmental damage. Speaking with us shortly after the inspection, he discloses the immediate action to be taken to stop the explosion and salvage the environment.
We immediately move into action to ensure that the fire is put off. If that is done,
Then we will begin the process of cleanup and remediating the affected areas. And we will also look at how to compensate the community as a way of providing relief material. You can see that their means of livelihood have been seriously affected. So our primary responsibility is to quickly and immediately move into action, even from the record of the joint GIV reports that we have for what had been done previously before the outbreak of the fire. We will immediately mobilize and move into action now.
It can be recalled that some community leaders had earlier accused the military of causing the explosion in an attempt to demobilize an illegal refinery around the Buguma manifold, which is a part of the NNPCL's oil drilling platform. When contacted, the Nigerian Air Force had stated that investigations are still being carried out to ascertain these claims. Deborah Abalama, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, the 6th Division of the Nigerian Army says that its troops have arrested 25 suspected oil thieves, including 4 individuals identified as members of the disbanded Indigenous People of Biafra IPOB. According to the Army, the operatives destroyed 23 illegal refining sites, recovering 45,000 stolen premium petroleum products in the Niger Delta region. This was disclosed in a statement by the Acting Deputy Director of Army Public Relations for the 6th Division, Lieutenant Colonel John Jonah Danjuma in Port Harcourt on Sunday. Colonel Danjuma says the suspected IPOB members were apprehended in the Oshimili local government area of Delta State during a series of operations carried out by the troops in the Niger Delta between January the 12th and the 19th, 2025. As the family of late Salome Adu, the 24-year-old youth corps member who was brutally murdered about 2 weeks ago, mourned their daughter, they have reiterated their demand for justice. They spoke to our correspondent who visited the residence of the family in Nyanya, a community on the border between Nasarawa and the nation's capital, Abuja. Our correspondent, Alima Giyam, who has been following the story, now reports.
On Sunday, January 12, the nation was shaken by the gruesome murder of Salome Adu, a 24-year-old Kogi-born member of the National Youth Service Corps. The brutality of the crime allegedly committed by Timi Ajayi, who claimed to be her boyfriend, left many stunned as reports emerged that her head was severed and body dismembered. Since her demise, many accounts of the incidents have surfaced, leaving even more questions than answers. Channels Television visits the residence of her family at Nyanya community, a satellite town nestled between Nasarawa State and the nation's capital, Abuja. The family, friends and neighbors are still mourning her loss.
Salome is gentle. She's beautiful, she's brilliant.
They describe the deceased as an intelligent, respectful and reserved young lady built to finalize her service in March, who had ambitions painfully cut short.
Salome was someone that had ambition. She wanted to be like her boss, the person she's working with. That was the kind of person she wanted to be. She had too much ambition.
Reeling from pain, the family seeks answers, trusting authorities to unravel the circumstances surrounding the incident.
So far, we are satisfied with how the police is handling the case, but we just need more investigation. We want this case to be done with so that me and my family will have peace. In Lafia, there's a Sharia law that is stated that anybody that is seen with a human body or any part of a human body is going to go on the same road as that woman that he killed. So let the guy face justice. Let him just face justice.
This is Papalada community, a suburb of Karu local government area of Nasarawa State, where Timi Ajayi resides. An eerie silence settles in the neighborhood. We locate Timi's house, scene of the crime, with the help of this young man who said he's barely 1 month here. This is the compound where Timi Ajayi lived. This is where he allegedly killed Salome, severed her head and dismembered her body parts before he was nabbed. The compound has 3 flats. Timi lived in one of the flats. The compound is now deserted. His neighbors have vacated the premise. Even the neighborhood is very quiet and everyone around here is jittery. His neighbors only knew a solo young man as they grappled with the shock.
The only thing I know is he's a solo person. I don't see him with friends. Each time he passes through by my house, he greets and I greet, and That is it. So for me, he has a deceptive look. Let me just put it that way. He has a deceptive look. I mean, for someone who has the heart to do what he did, then means that you don't really judge people by just mere looking at them.
Orozo community in the same local government area is where Timi's parents and his other siblings reside. The elderly couple is grappling with the devastating incident in their quiet neighborhood. The family maintains that Timi, one of 3 children, was not disowned. While his father pleads on his behalf, his mother has chosen to let the authorities handle the matter.
I want the government make them help me, make it the matter help too. I beg. Make them help me beg the people. The girl, I think is one of my daughter. They did that one to I feel. Ma. You know? So I don't know anything government want to do. Everything is government hand.
The Nigeria police and authorities maintain that investigations are ongoing, while the Nasarawa state government is promising to ensure that the perpetrator is brought to book. Timi Ajayi has been remanded in the Lafia Custodial Center of the Nigeria Correctional Service following a court order after the police charged him to the High Court of Justice Lafia with a 1-count charge for culpable homicide punishable by death, contrary to Section 221 of the Penal Code Law of Northern Nigeria. The police await the assignment of the charge to a trial court by the Chief Judge of Nasarawa State, after which a date for his arraignment will be determined. Halima Agayam, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, African Missions Global holds its annual Thanksgiving service as the visionary Pastor Folu Adeboye attributes the success of the humanitarian body to divine intervention. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Death toll from Saturday's tank explosion rises to 86 as federal government plans high-level committee to look into recurring cases of tank explosions. Family of 24-year-old Youth Corps member Salome Adu, who was murdered by Timileyin Ajayi, demands justice. African Missions Global holds its annual Thanksgiving service as a visionary Pastor Folu Adeboye attributes the success of the humanitarian body to divine intervention. And Israel says the 3 hostages who had been held by Hamas for 15 months are back to its territory. The wife of the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God and visionary of the African Missions Global, Pastor Folu Adeboye, has attributed the success of the organization to the divine intervention of God. Meanwhile, the life patron of the humanitarian body and General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, says that it is a privilege to partake in God's project. The couple was speaking at the humanitarian body as it held its annual Thanksgiving service at the Redemption Camp along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway.
Members of the African Missions Global, including its visionary, Pastor Folu Adeboye, sing to the Almighty God in thanksgiving for all they've achieved in the year 2024.
And the people say a louder, Amen. God bless you.
With the opening prayers done, the visionary of AMG, Pastor Folu Adeboye, says all that was achieved was through God's intervention.
The height the AMG has attained thus far is clearly made possible by the Lord. Walking through this is willing vessels. Our task today at this annual Thanksgiving service of AMG is to come before God rejoicing with a sincere heart of thanksgiving and gratitude.
Chairman Board of Trustees of Africa Missions Global, Pastor Brown Oyeso, in his welcome address noted that set goals will be achieved in the year 2025, building on past achievements.
A review of how AMG has moved towards this goal of impacting 100 million lives by 2033 gives us hope that with dogged determination and total faith in God, this goal is going to be achieved in Jesus' name. AMG recorded many firsts in year 2024. For the first time, the AMG was part of the United Nations International Day of Education.
Pastor Amos Semovon, in his exhortation, says African Missions Global is a call by God to serve humanity.
As we have gathered as AMG this year to give God thanks, I pray that 2025 will be our year to get more. So that's why the call of God will always give God thanks. Because they know their calling is by privilege. It's not by might, it's not by power.
The General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God and life patron of African Missions Global, Pastor Adu, highlights the mission of AMG.
It doesn't matter how many people are there when something as glorious as what we have now in African Mission is being born. They won't be able to respond because they just couldn't hear God. They couldn't hear God speaking because they are deaf. So one of the first things you need to thank God for is that you are not deaf. When we say not deaf, not just physically, we are talking about spiritually. And because they are not deaf, they have cause to thank God, because it's only those who are not deaf spiritually who can be healed by God.
The service was also used to recognize partners for their contribution to AMG's humanitarian work. Channels Television was specially recognized in this regard, as the award was received by the Vice Chairman, Channels Media Group, Dr. Shola Momo.
Increase Channels TV in Jesus' name.
As members and partners of African Missions Global give thanks to the Almighty God for His mercies in the past year, they set their sights on more projects that will impact lives positively across the globe in 2025.
The Government College Ughelli GCU has marked its own 80th anniversary with a grand celebration hosted at the Government College Ughelli Old Boys Association. The event, which held in the college grounds and attended by old boys, dignitaries and well-wishers, was a gathering to honor the institution's rich history and future aspirations. The occasion also featured the presentation of a model for a new 1,000-seat auditorium, a pivotal infrastructure project aimed at modernizing the college.
It's an atmosphere of celebration as the Government College Ughelli Old Boys Association is playing host to dignitaries including the Secretary to the Federation, Senator George Akume, the Delta State Governor, Sheriff Oboriwori, on the occasion of its 80th anniversary. The event kickstarts on a cheery note with an opening address by the President General worldwide of the college's Old Boys Association, who announces the construction of a 3 billion naira 1,000-seat auditorium for academic and cultural programs. To actualize the project, the Old Boys launch a fundraising campaign.
The association has agreed to build a 1,000-seating capacity auditorium estimated to cost about 3 billion naira. We are highly encouraged by the individual donors by the Old Boys, and we solicit the assistance of friends of the school, associates, to be part of this legacy project.
The keynote speaker, Dr. Dele Shobowale, highlights the importance of eradicating corruption and having a stable exchange rate for the growth and development of a nation.
We are in a situation where we are working harder. We have a larger budget in naira terms, but we have a lower budget in dollar terms. So globally, we are going down.
The chairman of the occasion and secretary to the federation, who is represented, lauds the association for the pivotal role that it continues to play in the institution's development.
As for the young ones here, the actions of your old boys should serve as a motivation to you, stimulating you to successful future and willingness to return here someday and make your own contribution to the growth of others and maintain the legacy so established.
Represented by the Commissioner for Primary Education, the Delta State Governor speaks in efforts by the government to improve education and skill acquisition in the state.
To survive in the 21st century marketplace, students need more than a certificate. They need the knowledge and entrepreneurial skills to succeed in business, trade, and commerce. Hence, we are irrevocably committed to ensuring that the education our students receive incorporates the requisite vocational and technical knowledge critical to helping them become job and wealth creators.
Next on the agenda is the presentation of a model for a new 1,000 seats auditorium, a pivotal infrastructure project aimed at modernizing the college.
The project, as was said by architect Majoro, the past President General worldwide, like today we are having this event. By the time this project is ready, it will be indoor. We will have it inside. And beside that, this era of science and technology, and it's going to be fitted with all kinds of gadgets, facilities to cover for the AI that is what we are all talking about today. So it's going to be a modern facility.
Another key moment of the event is the presentation of awards to corporate organizations and individuals that have made outstanding contributions to the growth of the college, and Channels Television makes the list. The celebration also features the induction of the year 71 set into the prestigious Ancient Marinas. Founded in 1945, the Government College, Uheli, was initially sited in a room provided by the government at the then Government Teachers Training College before it was later moved to Uheli. As the college looks towards its future, the anniversary serves as a reminder of the institution's enduring legacy and its vital role in shaping the leaders of tomorrow.
Still ahead on the news at 10, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency NDLEA arrests India-bound students over alleged attempt to ingest 76 wraps of cocaine. Please join us again. Welcome back. As the year rolls on, participants at the Kickoff Summit 2025 have been charged to leave behind the achievements of yesterday, improve on their operational efficiency, and embrace the culture of peak performers all year round. Dr. Abiola Salami, who is the convener of the event, alongside other notable speakers, highlighted some factors that can impact innovation and growth in the new year. Our correspondent Chris Illems reports.
It's the 2025 New Year Kickoff Summit, organized by Dr. Abiola Salami, convener, founder, the Peak Performer Africa. Focus is on navigating innovation and growth in 2025. And the Global Memorial Hall, Lagos Island, plays host to guests who have come from all walks of life. In his opening remark, the convener, Abiola Salami, gives insights for the shift from Rock Like a Champion in 2023 and 2024 to Kickoff 2025.
We've rebranded it so that the name actually represents
what the vision is, which is to help career professionals and entrepreneurs to start the year strong, so that our result in 2025 can be better than our result in 2024. Because we want to shun mediocrity. Our definition of mediocrity is not poor performance. Our definition of mediocrity is not average performance. Our definition of mediocrity is the performance of yesterday.
In her keynote address, the managing director of Lotus Bank brings to the fore critical points that enhance performance.
Now, one interesting part of a peak performer is also an all-rounder. What that means is you research, you know what to do to achieve results through people and yourself. You know what people want and how to get it out. And you also know how to ease pain points. You are an innovator. A peak performer also listens to criticisms because you can't know it all.
With the first session on the workshop on reflection and appraisal done, the conference moves to a fireside chat on cybersecurity, health, and finance.
So I want you to realize that if there's anything you're struggling with right now, it's simply because of the story you've told yourself about it. There's a story you strongly believe. That's why it's difficult. Oh, I can't stop smoking. There's a story you've told yourself. You've repeated that story to yourself long enough that you believe it. A lot of organizations get the architecture right, the design, then implementation. Implementation means that I've seen an organization whereby they actually have an antivirus, paid licensed antivirus that was not enabled to do the work.
Oh. Now, let me get you to understand that the only way to create wealth, the only way to sustain wealth is to find a problem and solve it. When you have mastered solving that particular problem, then you take it to scale.
This is followed by the second session of the workshop and then the final fireside chat. The guest, who believes the peak performer is the one that delivers the most under the least supervision, also shares a nugget for success.
Discipline, focus, and integrity. Those three. If you manage to combine those three and simply work hard and play hard and remember where you're headed, you are unlikely to fail. Even if you encounter obstacles, you will get there. So it's discipline, it's focus, it's integrity.
Time's up. Lessons have been taught and notes taken. Now participants are expected to kick off the year with purpose, clarity, direction, discipline, and momentum. Chris Elems, Channels Television News.
And to infrastructure now, the Kaduna-Kano 203.8 kilometer standard gauge railway line project was flagged off by the past administration in 2021, while construction work commenced in April 2022. Now, that project is expected to expand the northwest extension of the Abuja-Kaduna railway station and then connect with the Lagos-Ibadan, including Kano-Maradi lines, providing easy access with the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The construction of the Kaduna-Kano standard gauge appears to be slowing down as the promised date for its delivery has since elapsed. Channels Television's correspondent Nanchin Vincent brings us an update of the construction lines and the pulse of the business community in the commercial city of Kano.
This is the beautifully laid out rail tracks of the Kano-Kaduna standard gauge rail line in the Zawachiki area of Kano State. The construction of the 203.8 kilometer project began in 2022 and is expected to connect Nigeria's northwest region to other parts of the country through the Abuja-Kaduna rail line. The service is expected to have stations at Rigachukun, Zaria, and Kano. When completed, the rail line is expected to boost the transportation of goods in the region and complement the Dala Inland Dry Port.
The rail services, freight train particularly, even passenger services, are critical for economic prosperity. All over the world, heavy cargo is being moved on metal, that is on the rail. And we lost that in Nigeria because since the year 1964, there was no further increase in rail line except the Ajaokuta aspect and also until the Muhammad Buhari Kaduna-Abuja rail line, which itself really is just a bit in some connection point. It did not serve the purpose of the critical requirement. The critical requirement is for the rail services to be from point of entry into the country by sea all the way to the hinterland, to the last area in the country, to ensure that cargo that comes in by sea is transported on the metal by rail, that is, to the hinterland locations wherever the cargoes were required.
The initial completion date for the project was June 2023. However, the pace has been slowed down.
On the axis of Kaduna-Kano, attained close to 70%. There was a challenge between around the Jaji area, and so that area had to be abandoned for some time. The contractors just returned to it recently to ensure that they do the bit of that area also within the next about 6 months as they promised. And they have also made commitment to do the rest up to Maradi by the year 2026.
Communities along the rail tracks have been cleared, and the residents are anticipating the completion of the project because of the impact it will have on their livelihood.
We know
that this project will give us jobs when completed. When this project was started, we were happy for Kano.
One of the things that consumes a lot of time and resources in business and in manufacturing is transportation. And if by any measure we are going to get relief from that aspect, I think it's going to be a welcome development.
In the meantime, the China Development Bank has recently disbursed $225 million loan to Nigeria as funds for the completion of the project. This is expected to expedite action on the delivery of the project. Again, 2026 is set as deadline for completion. From Kano Commercial City, Nanchin Vincent, Channels Television News.
From infrastructure, let's turn our attention to agriculture, where the governor of Adamawa State, Mr. Umaru Fintiri, says that his administration will continue to empower farmers and herders with modern techniques of carrying out the activities beyond the traditional practice in order to eradicate conflicts between them. The governor made this known at the meeting of stakeholders aimed at mitigating conflict between herders and farmers in the communities of Taraba and Adamawa, which held in Yola, the Adamawa state capital.
Adamawa State in the past has experienced its fair share of conflicts between farmers and herders, resulting in the loss of life and destruction of property. This meeting, holding in Yola, Adamawa State, is to assess the progress made so far in peace-building initiatives. The meeting marks the end of a phase of community-driven efforts by the Adamawa State government and other international partners, led by the Search for Common Grounds Nigeria, under the Comitas project aimed at finding lasting solutions to the farmers-herders conflict. In attendance are council chairmen, traditional and religious leaders, government officials, and development partners, among others. The Comitas representative kickstarts the event just as the country representative of Search for Common Ground Nigeria, in her remarks, commends the Adamawa State Governor, Umaru Fintiri, for adopting preventive community-based approach to peace building.
Station around 4 specific objectives that are geared towards one, strengthening conflict resolution mechanisms within the project location, building trust in authorities, going forward to also talking about enhancing resource management strategy and mechanisms, as well as also improving intra and inter-communal relationships.
Allow me to express my deepest gratitude
to Your Excellency, the Governor, for your steadfast support of the Committas project. Your visionary leadership has been instrumental in fostering an enabling environment for this achievement.
Governor Umaru Fintiri, who is represented by his Chief of Staff, states that his administration is continually exploring strategies for peace, but a community leader affected by the conflict described the ad hoc measures usually adopted during conflicts as ineffective.
I therefore especially commend Search for Common Grounds for their commitment in enhancing peace and security in Adamawa State, especially for taking up the issue of herder-farmer conflict. This is at the heart of Adamawa's social, economic, and political development, given the significant role that agriculture, both arable and livestock, play in our lives.
The high point of the event is the handing over of the research findings carried out by the Search for Common Ground to the Adamawa State government.
The chairman of the National Sports Commission, Shehu Diko, says that sports has the capacity of enhancing security in the country. Speaking exclusively with Channels Television, the Sports Commission chairman said a lot is being put in place to increase the economic contribution of the sector to the country's GDP.
Sports can only thrive and develop within the context of our own deficiencies and limitations. You can't isolate sports also because if you look at, for example, in the developed world, you see them building even train stations direct to the stadium because these people need to travel to watch the games. So this is the kind of things we should have done a long time ago as we were discussing, but we didn't do anything. Nobody was building any infrastructure to make traveling easy, to make things but we have to work within that context. We have a lot of people within the cities that can be able to go to the games and fill the stadium and stuff like that. But sport is also an avenue to enhance and deepen security. Because anywhere they are playing sports, you find that it's a bit safe. So if sports is being done properly, the right way, it enhances the general security of the country. Yes, other issues of traveling and stuff like that can only happen as the government is working to put the necessary infrastructure to get the roads working, to get the trains working, to get maybe the airlines ticket could be better. But at least even within the cities, we have enough funds to do that. Even that time when I was doing the league, when we are doing night matches, we started night matches, the Friday night matches. In Enugu, for example, then every time we did the night matches, 40,000 people fill the stadium. And from that Friday night until Monday, Enugu is safe. Everybody is bubbling because football has been played, everybody is happy and stuff like that. Even the governor of Enugu used to call me and say, look, when is the next night match? Because the security people are giving me a report. That anytime they do a Friday night match, security situation within the city for that weekend improves.
To catch the full interview, please watch Newsnight by 9 p.m. on Monday, January the 20th, 2025 on all Channels Television platforms. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, says that it has foiled an attempt by a woman, Esther Onyinyechi Uzodimma, to swallow 76 wraps of cocaine hours before her return flight to India through the Kaduna-Kano International Airport in Kaduna-Kano. The NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi in a statement says that Mrs. Odimma, a 200-level student of nursing at the Noida University in Uttar Pradesh in India, was scheduled to return to Delhi in India through the Kaduna-Kano International Airport on Friday, January the 17th, 2025. Mr. Babafemi explains that she was arrested in her room at 11:30 p.m. on Thursday, January the 16th at the Royal Park Hotel, Sabongari in Kano. While awaiting the cocaine consignment, she was to ingest before her flight the following morning. The statement adds that her lid was blown open when the NDLEA operatives on patrol along Okene-Lokoja Highway in Kogi State on Thursday, January the 16th, intercepted 31-year-old Kasma Sokorie in a commuter bus coming from Lagos en route Kano. The NDLEA says in the statement, she claimed the drug cartel she was working for recruited her in India and paid for her trip to Nigeria to enjoy her Christmas and New Year holidays. And we are now to a solo exhibition by contemporary artist Femi Morakinyo at the Art Pantheon Gallery, right here in Lagos, while the artist displays paintings and installations that take the viewers down memory lane. We'll see it on Art Review tonight.
The doors of the Art Pantheon Gallery in Lagos are open once again to allow visitors experience The Way We Were, a solo exhibition by Morakinyo Femi.
Art is inspired by personal history, my cultural heritage, and the places and the experiences I've had while growing up.
The Way We Were is an exhibition that drives me memory lane, and I think it does that for everybody. In the face of everything, a lot of us losing identity in recent times. I think Femi decided to take everybody down memory lane and take us back to where we were, where we really started from.
This profound exploration delves into memory, identity, and cultural resonance, inviting viewers to reflect on how histories shape the present and inform the future.
What I aim to achieve is to preserve our cultural and sociocultural heritage in general. Things have changed now. The internet has taken over everything. So life was simple way back. So I tried to bridge the gap between the history and the present.
Morakinyo's works intertwine personal and collective narratives, blending traditional techniques with contemporary perspectives.
So African story, actually, it has to do with ways of life, our traditions, the food we eat, the clothes we wear, the way we dress. That's our history. I think everything is changing now. We have the Gen Zs that they don't know much about where we are coming from. Like in my paintings, you see the old typewriters, the telephones, the pans, the postmortem, and everything. But now things have changed. The new generation coming, they don't have any idea of all these items. So this is why I try to infuse them in my paintings to educate the people coming, the next generation coming behind us.
Each piece serves as a poignant reminder of the stories that connect us, using rich textures and evocative imagery.
Okay, I have a work titled Siblings. It's about children growing up together and how the elderly children have this care about their younger ones. And they have stories. I have works talking about stories of love, how life was simple. You understand what I'm saying? About our ways of life where we take things easy, where life was very, very easy.
This exhibition encourages engagement and dialogue about the complexities of identity and the fluid nature of memory, with a challenge to consider not only who we were, but who we aspire to be.
In the world of sports, it's the end of the road for Nigeria's surviving representative on the continent, Enyimba International, as they bowed out of the CAF Confederation Cup earlier today. The two-time African champions lost their own final Group D game against title holders Zamalek of Egypt 3-1, and then finished their group campaign on 5 points, while Zamalek, who have already qualified for the quarterfinals before the game, finished top of the group with 14 points. Joining Zamalek to advance to the last 8 is another Egyptian side, Al Masry, who defeated Mozambique's Black Bulls Maputo 3-1. The exit of Enyimba means that Nigeria will now have to wait for the Continent Club trophy as it extends to 21 years. Phil Foden struck twice as Manchester City climbed to 4th in the English Premier League with 6-0 rout of struggling Ipswich Town at Portman Road earlier today. Pep Guardiola's side have won 3 of their last 4 league games as they begin the long time back to respectability, and that's after a dismal start to the season. Manchester United slumped to 3-1 defeat at home to Brighton as Old Trafford remembered the legendary Dennis Law, while Tottenham's troubles also persist after they lost 3-2 at Everton. Nottingham Forest maintained their unlikely title challenge with a 3-2 victory over Southampton to take Nuno Espirito Santo's men level with the second-placed Arsenal and within 6 points of Liverpool. Away from sports now, outside our shores, Israel says the 3 hostages who'd been held by Hamas in Gaza for 15 months are back in Israeli territory. The hostages were released by Hamas to to the Red Cross in Gaza City, and that's after hours of the ceasefire began before being handed to the Israeli military. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's inaugural address on Monday, January the 20th, will take place indoors due to dangerously cold weather being forecast next week in Washington. The address, as well as other speeches, will now take place inside the U.S. Capitol's area rather than outside the building. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Maria Bird has more on this.
The 47th inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump will begin on Monday. It is clear that many streets are already beginning to be shut down as rallies and celebrations have already started. Many are watching to see what will happen next and preparing for what is anticipated to be one of the coldest inauguration days. This has caused the president's administration to decide to move the inauguration indoors to the Capitol Rotunda. This is one of the first times in history where we will see this type of inauguration not being held outdoors, but the frigid temperatures are expected to keep people from being able to be outdoors. It is also clear that we are anticipating that the president-elect will be signing executive orders on day one of the job. Shortly after the inauguration on Monday, we're expecting to see him in the Oval Office signing what could be close to 1,000 executive orders. He's also going to be making headway and discussing what will be next for the TikTok ban in the United States. It is going to be a busy week in the U.S., but many are anticipating that this could be one that could be historic in nature and definitely life-changing for many Americans, but also changing for foreign affairs in the U.S. Many Americans are watching to see how we will end up over the next 90 days as we are in the midst of California fires, in the midst of governmental change, and obviously political party changes. This is going to be one of the most interesting times in American history, but one that the world will watch, and many are hopeful, while others are wondering to see how different this will be from the Democratic Party and from the Biden administration. We'll continue to see and watch as this inauguration folds out and as the first 90 days of the new president's administration. From Washington, Maria Bird, Channel Television News.
And the main news again. The death toll from Saturday's tank explosion in Niger State has risen to 86 as the federal government plans to set up a high-level committee to look into recurring cases of tanker explosions. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Wawadu. Have a wonderful week ahead. Good night.